begin. Okay, so hello people. Hello. I have a new camera setup, which is really nice because you can see things. I don't knock everything out of place, but you can see what I'm doing, and that's really cool. I'm going to say zoom in, but I mean squish this down lower so you can see a little bit better where we are. How's that? So yeah, it's the 31st of October, it's Halloween, and I have been painting an octopus a day for the past month, which is kind of cool. I'm just going to plug in my phone because the battery is a little low. There we go. Can we still see? We can still see. Cool. That didn't change anything. So yeah, I've been painting an octopus a day for the whole month, and it's been great. We have a whole family here. This is the past 2 weeks, starting on the 15th through to the 30th. And the first 2 weeks, there's a lot of different species here, and I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but they are all listed in my Ko-fi. So that's fun. And I will try and name them for you a little bit later. Oh, there's a lot of common octopuses there, because common octopuses are, as the name suggests, common. But today it is Halloween, so we're going to do something appropriate. We're going to do an interloper, because I think that's spooky. Something that is not meant to be there, something that is other and different, and we all know that other and different is terrifying. So we're going to do today the vampire squid. Now, interestingly, the vampire squid, as you may know from the name, is not an octopus. That's right, 31st day of Octopus. So Octopustober, we're not actually doing an octopus, but we're also not doing a squid. There's the vampire squid, Vampiroteuthis infernalis, which is the scientific name, which means the vampire squid from hell, which is amazing, isn't actually categorized as a squid. It's categorized, it's in its own order. It is the only one, the only known surviving member of its order, Vampiromorphida. So it's quite a special thing, quite unusual, and kind of cute. Let's pull some paints over here. I'm going to start with drawing. So this is going to be a shortish video. All of these have been done in 15 minutes or less. Okay, some of them have taken maybe like 20 minutes, but we're not talking a long time. And that always includes the drawing as well. I've been doing a lot of them whilst, this happens a lot, I start and then look at the position and decide it's not right. I've been doing a lot of them while listening to the Magnus Archives, and the Magnus Archives episodes are between 20 minutes and half an hour long usually, and I will usually get, if I start this at the beginning of an episode, I usually finish it about halfway through. So yeah, it's, you know, we're looking at 10 to 20 minutes for each little illustration, which has been nice because it puts a bit less stress on me if I'm like, well, I'm only going to spend 20 minutes on it, so whatever I get done in 20 minutes, that's what we get. I'm going to curve this a bit to fit on the page. I've never been good at scale. I think quite a lot of you know, not my strong point. matter, does it? Kind of does matter sometimes. This sort of project, I don't think it matters. Because it's about a little bit of fun. Right. Well, there's the basic shape. Let's put some tentacles. Put that away. This here is a blanket octopus and it's quite large, so the fact that it's it's getting in the way is reasonable, I guess. Vampire squids are only about a foot long, I believe, relatively small. They have a big sort of mythology about them, especially because of the name. Right, so there's our sketch. As I say, we're working really quickly here. And I'm going to get some, I'm just checking my reference pictures. So they're kind of a burgundy maroon colour. Can you see if I just bring this into view? No, not quite. So this corner of a plate I use for mixing is really dusty. Has kind of some of those colours that I want on. So I'm going to use that to mix, because why waste paint? And I'm going to be using this lovely red. I'm also using my water brushes. Oh, this one's a bit empty. They're kind of manky. They need a really good clean. I've been using them for a couple of years, so it's fair that they're kind of manky and possibly have mildew in, but they've definitely got like deposit sediment from paints used, because unfortunately sometimes they do suck up a little bit of the paint that's being used. It doesn't matter. So yeah, using these water brushes. These paints, these are paints from a German maker who trades under the name of Eventually Everything Mixers, and I absolutely love her paints. They're beautiful, really nice colours. She's really interesting thematic sets, and they're vegan as well, which obviously I like. Such a beautiful red this. Also, she uses clove oil in them as a what's it called? Oh, my brain's terrible at the moment. My fatigue's been awful this month, by the way. She uses clove oil in them as a preservative. There we go. Preservative. So let's bring in. These are going to be sort of some of the lighter parts. I'm just throwing in some colour. Sometimes I start with shadows and do like an underpainting of greys and things to mark out shadows, and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I do this sort of thing where we just start with the colour, we start with the lightest bits, and then we build up the darker bits around it. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm adding in a bit of a dark blue, and it's a ultramarine based blue with more of that red, creating a much darker mix. And can start to blank in Oops. Let's just bring that round. Kind of went outside bounds there, so we just changed the shape altogether. Totally fine. This is actually a little bit more of a gouache painting style where I'm sort of tiling things in instead of gently blending everything, but you know, it works. It works. This is a lovely mix of colour though. It's very pretty. Yep, that dark colour coming down here, down here. Trying not to paint over our blanket octopus. So one of the interesting things about painting these various cephalopods that I found is that we actually don't have very accurate reference photographs for most of them. So the colour and shape that we see and that we find for looking online for things isn't really that accurate, because sometimes they're specimens which have been caught in fishing nets or which have washed up on shore, and in that case, well, they're dead. They may have decomposed. The what are they called? Chromatosomes? Bacteria type cells which are symbiotic with the octopus, which produce some of the colour changing abilities, for example. They're dead. They're not working anymore. Other pigment producing cells aren't producing pigment anymore. So if you've got a dead specimen, the colours are often inaccurate, and the shape is often inaccurate because the shape of something which is soft-bodied, like an octopus, and this happens with some fish as well. The blobfish, I think, is becoming well known for being very misrepresented in how it looks, because their bodies are very much adapted to the environment they live in. The environment they live in is, just needed to grab a cloth. The environment they live in is deep water, often high pressure deep water, and in those environments that shapes and form, it kind of holds them in shape. So you take them out of water, you take them out of that high pressure system, and they go all soft and spongy and kind of just flop around because they don't have that high pressure and they don't have the water helping to keep them in shape. So it can be difficult to know what some of these actually look like. The other issue you get is, again, with underwater photography, especially deeper, not the super deep sea, because we often don't get there, but the deeper water ones, when we've got very low light conditions. And so photography users, if you're using flash or light, external lights and things, it will sometimes show up some colours as far, far brighter than they actually are, because you're getting iridescence or and reflection and things that you normally wouldn't see. And it's not entirely inaccurate, because those iridescence and that reflection and things does exist, but it's not something you would normally see because it's pitch black down there. So whilst we might get this idea that these are beautiful, bright, shining, sparkly creatures, actually most of the time they're quite dull until something shines on them. So we get an inaccurate impression of what these octopuses look like. So in my reference picture, for example, there's a small patch of iridescence which shows up sort of orange and sparkly and lovely. I'm kind of ignoring it because we're not working with a camera, we're working with paint. And I'm more interested in okay, I was going to say what they look like really. Am I? Who knows? I just don't want to put in artificial artifacts, I guess, I suppose, is what I'm thinking. Anyway, I'm actually almost done. I just want to get some of those dark bits really dark. And then we can fill in the eye. I'm just using a black, which I think is called Mars Black. It's from this one here. It's from the Beam Paint Company, which is another small independent handmade paint maker, this time from Canada. It's an indigenous couple. A lot of their paints are made from minerals that are found naturally in the area they live, which is wonderful. They find them, they grind them down. Others they do buy pigments in for. Again, they're all handmade. Really, really nice paints. And I've been enjoying them a lot. I got this set at the start of October, so I've been using them a lot for my octopuses, especially when it comes to shading and shadows. There we go. So the blue, again, it's a reflection thing, so it's a little bit disingenuous in some way because we're seeing it due to the reflection of the light. So I'm not super sure what this blue, what it actually looks like, but in there, again, the reference picture, it's a sort of cloudy grey blue. So I would expect without light reflecting on it, it's a milky, cloudy colour, you know, like the sort of cataract effect. You can imagine that. So I've got a blue base grey here, again from Beam. It's called Sky Grey, which is really lovely. And I'm just going to layer that in first. But I do want a little touch of something darker, so going into the blue on the blue from the Eventually Everything Mixer set, and I'm just going to blend that in. Should just get some of that milkiness. There we go. Just fill in that little gap there. There we go. And that, my friends, is Vampire Squid, the day 31 of Octopustober. And this will be going on the Ko-fi, and I'll get some pictures of the full page and of the previous page. I'll try and put them together so that we can see all 31 together in their glory, and I plan on typing out a list of all the different species that we've got here, which includes Let's see what I can remember. This is an unnamed one. I couldn't find the species name of this, but I suspect it's a mimic. Blanket octopus, Dumbo octopus. No, oh no, that's the one which is not a Dumbo octopus. This is a Dumbo octopus. This is a flapjack octopus. Pelagic striped octopus, possibly. Oh, my memory's terrible. We have a ringed octopus and a striped octopus here. This is a great octopus, I think. This is beautiful. I can't remember the name of this. I think this is actually an interpretation of a now extinct species. So, sort of taking a bit of a guess at what that looks like. Mimic octopus, or possibly an Atlantic striped octopus. I can't remember the name of this one. This is the one which is actually slightly bigger than life size. Normally, well, maybe life size. This would be a big example of the species. They're normally, fingernail size. And next to it is a giant octopus. So I like having those two together. Absolutely not to scale. Common octopus we started with. This is a different subspecies of blanket octopus. Coconut octopus. Different species. I think this is an Atlantic striped octopus. But they're lovely. I'm very pleased with them. I'm very proud of them as well. So I'm going to finish up there. And this video will stay live on the page and be shared for people. And I hope you enjoyed watching that. Cheerio! Oh, sorry, you can just see here as well. I like to draw prehistoric animals or Neolithic animals when RPGing in an Ice Age setting. So every so often in this sketchbook, you see things like a woolly rhino.